The Sicilian Expedition, a critical episode during the Peloponnesian War, was a major Athenian military campaign undertaken from 415 to 413 BCE. To comprehend its catastrophic outcome, one must first understand the context leading up to this ambitious endeavor. The Athenians, emboldened by their powerful navy and eager to expand their influence, saw Sicily as key to both increasing their wealth and strategic advantage over their rivals, particularly Sparta. The promise of conquering Sicily, rich in resources and strategically located in the Mediterranean, seemed to serve as a beacon for Athens' imperial ambitions. This campaign's significance in the greater narrative of the Peloponnesian War is profound. It marked a dramatic turning point, shifting from Athenian aggression to vulnerability. The decision to launch the expedition was heavily influenced by influential leaders such as Alcibiades, who argued that the conquest of Sicily would deliver both material wealth and strategic positioning to Athens. His persuasive calls for expansion illustrate one example of real-world decision-making impacted by charisma and political aspiration. Another instance is Nicias, who, despite his skepticism about the feasibility of the mission, found himself leading the expedition after Alcibiades' recall to Athens and eventual defection to Sparta. These examples showcase the volatile mix of ambition, persuasion, and unfortunate leadership that pervaded Athenian politics at the time. Despite the initially convincing arguments for the expedition, there was considerable opposition from seasoned military leaders who foresaw the potential overextension of Athenian power. Critics pointed out the logistical challenges of such a distant campaign and the risk of leaving Athens vulnerable at home. These dissenting opinions underscore ongoing debates about imperial overreach and strategic foresight versus hubris and ambition, raising questions about the balance of power and caution in military endeavors. Controversies inevitably arose from this context, most notably the heated debates within Athens about the expedition's merits and the eventual blame placed on its leaders following the campaign's failure. The disastrous defeat, resulting in the complete destruction of the Athenian forces in Sicily, not only decimated Athens' military strength, but also severely undermined its political authority and credibility within the Greek world. Understanding the context of the Sicilian expedition is essential, as it provides insight into the motivations and misjudgments that led to what was arguably Athens' most critical strategic blunder. This context sets the stage for examining the subsequent unraveling of Athenian power and the prolonged conflict that ensued, contributing to the ultimate downfall of this once mighty city-state in the Peloponnesian War. The strategic objectives of Athens during the Sicilian expedition were primarily driven by their ambition to expand their influence and control in the Western Mediterranean, particularly targeting the rich and strategically important island of Sicily. Athens sought to subdue Syracuse, the most powerful city-state in Sicily, with the intention of cutting off Spartan supply lines and potentially opening up new fronts against Spartan allies. This would not only increase Athenian power, but also relieve pressure on their allies and possibly bring the Peloponnesian War to a favorable conclusion. The significance of Athens' strategic objectives is monumental. The expedition marks one of the most ambitious military undertakings by Athens, intended to showcase its naval prowess and solidify its dominance in the Greek world. Had it succeeded, Athens might have diminished Sparta's influence and altered the course of the war, significantly extending its empire westward. There are clear examples illustrating these objectives. Firstly, the decision to engage Syracuse was based on intelligence that suggested internal divisions within the city, providing a perceived opportunity to exploit. Secondly, the promises of rich resources like grain and manpower from Sicily were enticing to Athens, hinting at economic motivations underpinning their military endeavors. Opinions supporting these objectives emphasize the boldness and visionary aspects of the Athenian strategy. Many proponents believed that aligning against Syracuse would weaken Spartan positions and lead to Athenian hegemony in the Greek world. However, the strategic objectives were not without challenges and controversies. Critics at the time, like the statesman Nicias, argued against the expedition, citing the overextension of Athenian resources and questioning the practicality of such an ambitious campaign. The execution of these objectives was marred by operational challenges, including inadequate reconnaissance, underestimating the enemy's resolve, and logistical oversights. Dissent within Athens itself highlighted the polarizing nature of this strategy. The strategic objectives of Athens during the Sicilian Expedition were profoundly connected to and influenced other aspects of the main topic, including the eventual catastrophic failure of the endeavor. The hubris and miscalculations inherent in Athens' objectives contributed to their defeat. This resulted not only in a loss of Athenian lives and ships, but also significantly weakened Athens, emboldening its rivals and altering the balance of power in the Peloponnesian War. This scenario underscores the intricate link between strategic planning and the subsequent unraveling of Athens' aspirations in Sicily. The heading, Key Figures and Leadership Dynamics, in the context of the Sicilian Expedition, refers to the influential individuals and the interactions between them that played crucial roles in the planning and execution of Athens' military campaign in Sicily during 415 to 413 BCE. This aspect is significant because the decisions and leadership styles of these figures were pivotal to the expedition's catastrophic outcome, underscoring how personal ambitions, strategic perspectives, and leadership conflicts can impact military endeavors. Among the key figures was Alcibiades, a charismatic and ambitious Athenian leader who championed the expedition. He envisioned the campaign as a means to expand Athenian power, driven by his personal desires for glory and influence. His persuasion was instrumental in convincing the Athenian assembly to approve the expedition. Another crucial figure was Nicias, an experienced and cautious general who opposed the expedition but was reluctantly appointed as one of its leaders. Nicias's reservations and his conservative tactics stood in contrast to the aggressive vision of Alcibiades, creating a dichotomy in leadership strategies. A real-world application of these dynamics is seen in the early phases of the expedition. Alcibiades, facing political machinations back home, was recalled to Athens and subsequently defected to Sparta, leaving Nicias, who lacked his counterpart's daring approach, as the primary leader. This shift in leadership dynamics weakened the expedition, as the fleet lost a key advocate with influential network connections. Opinions supporting the impact of leadership dynamics often highlight how Alcibiades' persuasive yet polarizing influence illustrated the dangers of aligning military strategies with personal ambitions, which can cloud judgment and lead to disastrous outcomes. The importance of leadership, cohesion, and clear strategic objectives is a lesson frequently drawn from this narrative. Controversies arise over whether Alcibiades' removal was the sole tipping point for failure, with some arguing that logistical challenges, such as resources and the lack of local allies in Sicily, were just as critical. Critics of Nicias also argue that his procrastination exacerbated the situation, hindering timely decision-making and adaptability, essential traits in military leadership. These leadership dynamics not only influence the outcome of the Sicilian expedition, but also highlight the broader implications on Athenian society. The defeat marked a significant turning point in the Peloponnesian War, contributing to Athens' eventual downfall. The interplay of individual motivations and leadership choices in this historical moment serves as a timeless reminder of the intricate relationship between strategic thinking and individual influence in shaping historical events. The planning and launch of the Sicilian expedition were pivotal moments in Athenian history, marking the commencement of what would become a catastrophic military endeavor. This phase involved strategic deliberations and motivations driven by imperial ambition, but mired by overconfidence and political infighting. The essence of this planning stage lies in its ambitious goal to expand Athenian influence in Sicily, particularly to conquer Syracuse, thereby gaining control over vital resources and establishing dominance over the Western Mediterranean. The significance of this undertaking was profound, as it represented the height of Athenian imperial ambition during the Peloponnesian War, showcasing both the power and overreach of Athens at its peak. Two prominent examples underscore the expedition's planning. First, the persuasive rhetoric of Alcibiades, a charismatic but controversial Athenian leader, whose vision for the expedition swayed the Athenian assembly despite opposition from more cautious figures such as Nicias. Alcibiades argued that control of Sicily would provide immense resources and strategic advantage against Sparta. Second, the strategic miscalculation of underestimating the logistical challenges of such a vast campaign demonstrates the flawed execution of these grand designs. The Athenians failed to account for the complex political landscape of Sicily and the formidable resistance that awaited them. Supporters of the expedition, inspired by Alcibiades, believed it exemplified the boldness and potential for Athenian glory, suggesting that success in Sicily would cement Athens as a preeminent power. However, the plan faced significant challenges, primarily due to internal dissent and divided leadership. Nicias, despite being appointed a commanding general, was a vehement critic, arguing that such a massive campaign stretched Athens' resources too thin and risked their existing security. This dissent highlights the controversy within the Athenian democracy, where majorities propelled by charismatic leaders could override cautious pragmatism. The decision to proceed despite clear warnings caused fractures within Athenian society and exposed the vulnerabilities of democratic decision-making in the face of ambitious imperialist aspirations. Thus, the planning and launch of the expedition served as a critical juncture that influenced other aspects of the entire endeavor. It set the stage for subsequent strategic failures and tragic outcomes, ultimately leading to not just a military defeat, but a profound crisis for Athens. This episode illustrates the perilous balance between ambition and prudence, a lesson imprinted on the annals of history regarding the limits of power and the potential folly of unchecked ambition.